All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about Litecoin. You know, I've been saying that the next 6 months should be good for Litecoin. Why am I saying that? The Litecoin halving is coming up. Now, the Litecoin halving, what is a halving? Well, in crypto, two semis coming up right here. Got to watch it. The weather's kind of bad. See, I'm driving a DigiByte and I get blasted. Anyway, these roads are kind of nasty today. Had some snow, a little more than expected, and it's slick, so not really prepared to clear the snow off the roads yet. Anyway, the halving cycles. In cryptocurrency, it's built into the code. So in Bitcoin, there's a halving cycle roughly every 4 years. What happens is, and Litecoin's the same way. Litecoin is pretty much the same as Bitcoin, but it's got a few enhancements. It's faster. There's a few more of them, 4 times as many. Has a privacy feature such as MWeb built into it, and it allows you to transfer crypto or Litecoin pretty much anonymously. So it's kind of a good thing. But what happens with the halving is this. It starts out when Bitcoin first started, I believe it was 50 Bitcoin per block. And then it halved after 4 years. So each block of transactions that a miner confirms, they get 25 Bitcoin or 50 Bitcoin for it. And then it halves, and then they get 25 Bitcoin for each block of transactions. And then it halves again, roughly every 4 years. And then you get 12 and a half. And then it's 6.25, and you know, so on to 3.125 after that, and it just continues to halve until it gets to a point where there's very little Bitcoin, very little Litecoin that you're going to be rewarded with as a miner. Well, by then, see, it makes it more scarce, so there's less coming onto the market, so it drives the dollar price up. Because you've got a scarcer asset and more people are realizing, wait a minute, I can't get this. I'm going to use more dollars to get it because I see a value to it. And as they print more money and create more money out of nothing, more money is going to go into it. So what happens is you've got a halving every 4 years. This year, 2023, roughly August, beginning of August, Litecoin is going to have another halving. The last time was June of... no, actually, I think it was like August 2019, yeah, right around there. It peaked in June of 2019 prior to the halving, and that's what I'm talking about. What happens in the last 2 halvings, and I've looked at it for Litecoin, if you look at the prior cycle low, and then you look and see where it peaks, and this is US dollar price. Again, why am I talking about US dollar price? Because that's what everybody measures it in, and that's how they understand it. At some point, we're measuring it in Litecoin price. How much Litecoin for this? You know, but we're not there yet. So I have to do it in US dollar terms, because that's our barometer and world standard still, even though it's being devalued. So you've got the prior 2 halvings at the cycle low, at the low price of Litecoin before that. If you take that and then you look at what the peak is in US dollar price before the halving, the next halving event, roughly it would equate to 6 to 7 times higher. So what happens is, take this last cycle. Litecoin bottomed out at arguably $40. Now it depends if you're looking at the wicks or if you're looking at the full candle bodies on the chart, but I'm going to take the extreme case, 40 bucks. All right, it went to 40 bucks. Did it close on a daily lot? No. The low might be like $45. But let's just take $40 because I want to be real conservative and negative here. So our low is 40 bucks. All right, so given historical patterns, the high price before the Litecoin halving, which is this August, 8 months from now, the high price of Litecoin should be 6 to 7 times whatever that $40 was. So it should be $240 to $280. You know, and that's what you're looking at. And I think that is a very conservative estimate, and I expect to see Litecoin between $240 and $280 before this August. And I've actually put a date on it. And the reason why I did is because I'm just basing it on historical parameters. The last 2 halving cycles for Litecoin, what happened was it went 6 to 7 times higher from its low. And when did it hit that? It didn't hit it at the time of the halving event. No. It typically hit it roughly 45 days before that. I think it was 44 days and 48 days, something like that. So I'm saying like 45 days, a month and a half. So I look at them like, okay, you know, August, we're going to have a halving in Litecoin. And I counted back, you know, approximately when that was. And I just had a range. And I said, screw it. I'm just going to pick a date. June 17th. In that time frame. You know, that week around that. I'm saying June 17th is when we're going to have that peak price of Litecoin prior to its halving event. Now, this is just based on historic precedent. And so you're looking at probably around a $250 Litecoin. Now, I'm not saying it won't be 300. It very well could be. It just depends how you look at the chart and where you determine the low. If you determine it on the, you know, I'm looking at it on the most conservative point, and that's why I've said 240 bucks. 6 times the low, $240. Now, if you're counting the low based on a candle body on the chart, it could be $45, and you could take it times really 7. You know, so you're over 300 bucks. Is that 315, something like that? So, you know, you could have a little $300 Litecoin. Well, right now it's 75 bucks. I mean, I was saying this when it was like 50 bucks. So, I mean, you could have, you look at it that way, you know, you go from $50 to say $300, you're getting your 6 times right there. And you didn't even buy the low. So, I mean, but my point in all this is, it's baked into the cake, just like, you know, the halving cycles, just like the scarcity of these coins, why they go up. It's because it's baked into the cake. It's meant to go up in US dollar price because it's absorbing more US dollars. It's going to, you're going to need more US dollars to purchase it because it's becoming more valuable against the dollar. And that's what these cycles are all about. And that's why I look at the most conservative play for Litecoin right now. It's at 75 bucks today. It will be $240 by June 17th, roughly. June sometime. Now, that's conservative. I'm being conservative. I'm fully confident that's going to happen. If it doesn't, I guess I'm just totally wrong and something seriously has happened. I mean, something devastating has happened to us. So I'm looking at, you know, conservatively, 240 bucks. Do I think it's going to be more? Yeah. But I want to be conservative. I'm like, you know, look at this. I want to go in the freaking ditch. It's so slippery. This is crazy. Not even that much snow, but it's slippery. So I'm looking at it conservatively. And I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be some shill pumping, you know, oh, yeah, Litecoin's going to go to 10,000 now. Whatever. No, I don't want to do that. But what I'm saying is, conservatively, 240 bucks. Now, if it starts doing what some chartists are saying, that we're in this period of it breaking out. I mean, there's charts that show this, and I can't explain it. But, you know, I've seen it, I've absorbed it enough, and I know it's potentially there to where it can do what Dogecoin did, essentially find its real value against the Bitcoin rate, you know, the ratio, the Bitcoin price. And if Litecoin does that, it would do it between now and June. We'll know it. We'll know it because it'll hit that $240 way before. It'll hit it probably before the end of February. And if that's the case, we're on a whole nother track. I mean, we are in a track to where Litecoin is finding its true value, its real value against Bitcoin. And then that's a whole nother thing. And I don't even want to look at it in dollar price at that point. I want to look at it in the Bitcoin ratio price, to where the natural ratio of Litecoin to Bitcoin is 4-to-1. Because there's 21 million Bitcoin that can be mined, 84 million Litecoin. 4 times as many Litecoin. So, I mean, in theory, you could say it's a quarter of the price. It would be a quarter of the price. But Litecoin, when it catches on, it's got better fundamentals than Bitcoin as far as the technology. Better, you know, as far as payments, it's better use case because the fees are so cheap. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to using Litecoin over Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the first mover, however. It is the one that has gained, it came onto the market first. In 2009, January 3rd, we just had an anniversary. Bitcoin came onto the market, let's say. First mined out, the first blocks. Litecoin, it wasn't until October 13th. October 13th, 2011. So like 2.5 years later. And so Bitcoin had that time to kind of establish itself and prove itself and gain a following, and it's had that first mover advantage. But what's happened as it goes on and on and on, and Litecoin's been running for over 11 years nonstop, uninterrupted. Bitcoin can't say that. Litecoin's building technologies that allow, you can build NFTs on it. You can put your own token on it. You can use Mimblewimble for privacy transactions. I mean, there are a lot of things that Litecoin is doing that Bitcoin is not doing. So it's able to do more things. It has more utility, but it also has the scarcity and a 4-to-1 ratio. So my point in all this is, what could happen this year? We could see it do what Dogecoin did against Bitcoin and find a new ratio, permanent ratio. And if that's the case, you could very easily this year see a 10-to-1 ratio Bitcoin to Litecoin. Could it wick as far as 4-to-1? Yeah, it could. It really could. And I've looked at these charts, and I mean, it is a possibility. But, I'm not going to get on that pump wagon and say that that's what's going to happen. Because if it did, I mean, you could have Litecoin, or you could have Bitcoin at $20,000. Really doesn't move, not doing a whole lot. And Litecoin could go to $4,000 or $5,000. I mean, that legitimately could happen. And people will say, "How, you're nuts. No, yeah, you're crap. Yeah, Litecoin's crap. Charlie Lee sold at the top. You abandoned the project." Which he didn't do. He's still working on it. Pro bono. But again, it's just that faction that I get it. I mean, when you're invested in something and that's what you built your life around and your narrative around, you don't want something that can threaten that. But if you look at the truth of the matter, it does. I mean, I'm just looking at the facts and what's really happening in the fundamentals. It could happen. It could happen to where you do see this massive just move up within a couple of months, within a 4-month period, to where it goes from $75 to ridiculous amounts in dollar terms. But I'm not looking at it in dollar terms necessarily. I'm looking at it in the strengthening against Bitcoin, because Bitcoin may not move. It may be $16,000 in June, but Litecoin could be a quarter of that at 4,000. I mean, it sounds insane, but the math is there to justify it. And you're seeing more and more addresses being created on the Litecoin network. You're seeing all these fundamentals of Litecoin increasing, Litecoin being used more and more for BitPay. You're just seeing, I think you're going to look back and say, wow, the signs were all in front of us. What were we thinking? We were just sitting back waiting, thinking, oh, that could never happen. And I think that's what will happen, because there are going to be so many people who are sitting on the sidelines that say, it's not, it hasn't done anything. It's a crap coin, the Bitcoin only. And then Bitcoin doesn't move, but Litecoin does against Bitcoin. And then you'll have that effect of people wanting to get into it because they're afraid that they're going to miss out. And if you've got that pile-on effect, I mean, you really could have one of these crazy Dogecoin type moves. If you look at what Dogecoin did in, the spring of 2021, you could see the same kind of movement. And Doge is held up there. It's found its new level against Bitcoin, and it hasn't left. And the funny thing is, Dogecoin and Litecoin are merge mined, so they're essentially kind of the same blood, the same network. And it would not be out of the realm of possibility that Litecoin would do the same thing that Dogecoin did. They are kind of tied at the hip in a lot of ways, being merge mined. So it's very possible. I wouldn't be saying, this coin could do, Vertcoin could do what Dogecoin did. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it could, but I mean, Litecoin is kind of like Dogecoin in a lot of ways. They're kind of tied, like I said, merge mined, to where, that's a better argument that Litecoin would repeat what Dogecoin did to find its true value, real value against Bitcoin. And I mean, if you look at the fundamentals, the real value against Bitcoin, just from a number standpoint, is 4-to-1. That's it. $16,000 Bitcoin, $4,000 Litecoin. Could it happen? Yes, it could happen. Absolutely could happen. But I'm sticking to the conservative estimate. I'm saying 250, 240. 240 is what I'm saying. $240 June 17th of this year. Still a pretty big move. But I'm not discounting that other stuff. Not at all. Because it very well could happen. I've seen crypto. I know how crypto operates. It's human emotion. It's just, it could happen. I've seen it happen with other things. So let's just say it can't. All right. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Somebody wanted me to talk about it. I think the next 6 months are going to be good for Litecoin, regardless. It's just how good is it going to be is really what it comes down to. I think it will outperform most of the market, the vast majority of the crypto market. It is just poised to do that. It's that time for it with the halving event coming up, and it's done it before. So I would look for it to do it again. All right. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and hopefully, that sheds a little bit of light on it. If you got any questions, just drop them in the comments, and I'll try to talk about it. I'm no expert on this stuff. I'm just going by what I see, and what I'm seeing in the charts, and which I can talk about and feel confident about. If I don't feel confident about it, I'm not going to talk about it. I'll just tell you what I'm seeing. All right. Love you all. Have a wonderful day. Have any questions, comments, let me know. But again, just like I'm doing, trust yourself. Do your own research on this stuff, and, it'll resonate or it won't. With me, everything I've said resonates. And so, that's why I talk about it. All right. Trust yourselves. Hope you have a wonderful day.